Well, if you got a dollar, well, just lousy down. You know that I got rhythm that could suit your budget fine.
Hey, this is Patrick with Trusty Mercantile. Welcome to my channel. I've been gone quite a bit, and I want to thank Carolina Princess Sweet Treats and Pretties, Beth, for even though I was gone, I was not forgotten. And as she organized her new shop hop for July, she asked me to participate. So it's a motivation to get some additional content going into my channel. So if you're watching me on Sunday, July 24th, when the shop hop is starting, I am kicking off the series of channels that will be participating in Best Shop Hop. You can go into the description of this video and see all of the videos that will be going up. We are not live. This is pre-recorded, which means there is no live chat. So if you see something you are interested in, you will actually enter the comments of the video, and they will still be posted in date and time order, so I can see who the first person was to claim something, and all is right with the world. So what I will finish up in a half hour, within a half hour, and at the next half hour mark, you will be able to jump over to Miss Dam Jewelry. That is Dolores, who's actually based in the UK, but she ships to the United States, and she will have some great stuff as well. And there will be shop hops or drop sales for the shop hop throughout the afternoon. And again, a full schedule will be in my description of this video, and you will also see instructions of how to claim items from my sale, as well as the general concept of claiming them for others. And actually, I kind of missed the point. Everything I'm going to be selling today is actually related to my theater life. I do set dressing and props as well for a lot of productions that I'm in, and helping other people that I know that are doing their shows. And all of the items I'm selling today are actually items that were either used or were proposed to be used in a stage production. So there'll be a little bit of a story about each of them. And the first two items that I've got up are a little life lesson. And in general, because of live theater, it's not always a great idea to have breakable items, but sometimes you can put them, maybe they're on in a china cabinet in a hutch, something that they don't get used all that often, or sometimes you just need something authentic. This was a piece that I had purchased for Arsenic and Old Lace, a production that I was doing set dressing and props, and ended up being in the show because of an injury of another actor. This was going to be sitting on the sideboard in the aunt's house, if you know the show. And it is a 3-piece mayonnaise/sauce set, Nippon, all hand painted. And I was willing to risk the breakage because no one would actually need to handle it. And then we ended up not using it because I went with a different motif for the set dressing. Things change. So this is actually a 3-piece set though. So I was super excited when I found it, because in many cases you don't get the ladle because that handle is very easy to break. So the handle is in some cases damaged, or the entire ladle is missing. This is in perfect condition, no damage, no repairs. It also has the bowl, and you find the bowls relatively frequently. They're not that uncommon. And in Nippon, there was a lot produced during that time. But it also has the matching underplate. And a lot of times people will see this, and if it's just by itself, you just think it's a bread and butter plate and don't think anything of it. But when you have the same design and you can find them together, it's the underplate for the bowl, because it's a footed bowl. It does not have, there wouldn't be like a little coffee, like in a coffee creamer or a coffee cup, there'd be like an indentation. You wouldn't necessarily have that. So this is the matching 3-piece set. I picked this up at a great price. It is again, they're not particularly rare to find some of the pieces, but to actually find the full set, that is quite a find. So it could have gone into Arsenic and Old Lace. It wasn't, but that doesn't make it any less valuable. So I am passing this on, selling it for $20, and you can pick that up by entering the number 39 in the comment section of the video. And the first person to enter that number will be the person that claims it. The other item, which I also had picked up for Arsenic and Old Lace, which did match the motif, but it ended up being so dark you couldn't see it, so I ended up taking it off the set. It is this glass lidded jar. Now, a lot of times I will pick up things for theater that have damage because I can get them cheaper, and in some cases they'll get more damage. This one, though, is in absolutely pristine condition. There's no flea bites, there's no chips, there's no cracks, there's absolutely no issues. It is a lidded probably powder jar, powder dish, because it's very shallow. You can see it is wheel cut. Those are not etched. That's a wheel cut into it. And the reason I liked it was because it has kind of an aesthetic movement motif from the 1880s. It has kind of like almost a bamboo design and the starburst. And that was the era that I was recreating for the aunt's home in Arsenic and Olace. But this ended up sitting in a little corner cabinet that didn't get lit, and so it kind of disappeared. So it needed to get replaced by something a little more showy. But it's still one of my favorite pieces that I picked up for the show. Again, pick this up at a good price, so passing it off at a good price. Perfect condition powder box. You get for $10 by giving me number 35. $10, number 35 for the aesthetic era powder box. So when you don't do breakable items, you tend to do more industrial and heavy items that will stand the test of use. This was something that I actually had picked up for my current production of Clue. We have to recreate a kitchen, and there's a dinner scene that takes place. If you know the movie, it does follow it fairly well. So this was like a little gravy boat. Didn't know if we needed it. It was just something that it's metal, so you could drop it; it won't break. We then considered hanging it in the kitchen because the kitchen is on display. It was too big to put on the wall, and it didn't really show what it was if you just set it on a shelf. So it ended up not getting used. Otherwise, I wouldn't be offering it because we'd still be using it. But it is a single piece metal gravy boat. So this is where the bottom is attached, the underplate is attached. You actually can pour the entire thing out to get your gravy, and then as it drips down, it would actually capture in the underplate. So kind of a neat design. I'm not really sure the age of this. It is not marked, it is not stamped. I do believe it's silver plate. It's certainly not sterling. It's super lightweight. I would have said aluminum, but it is tarnishing. So I'm not 100% sure the baseline of it. It's got a wooden handle, and it's all very nicely, it's tight. I don't actually see how this is attached. There's no screws or anything, so somehow it's either been welded into place or who knows. It's just a cool piece, and again, picked it up for an inexpensive price. I think this is great either for actual use, or it would just be great if you've got this aluminum and silver plate look in your kitchen or your china cabinet. A great little accent piece that I just don't come across this design very often. I'm selling it for $8, $8 by giving me number 33, and you can pick up what could have been the Clue gravy boat. The next item, actually jumping back to Arsenic and Olace, I had picked up an absolutely beautiful dining room table. It was a very small set stage that we were using, so the dining room table really had to be small. And so what I actually found was one of those flip top card tables from the 40s, and it had a harp lyre base on the bottom, and it flipped open, and so we put a tablecloth on it, and that became the dining room table. Well, I found these candlestick holders that have the same shape on the base. So these were just a great little find that kind of went with the table. The table got damaged during the show. I was actually going to keep it for myself, but it got damaged. And so the theater now keeps it, but I brought these back with me, and I'm selling these as a pair. Again, I believe there's kind of like a coating on the bottom. It's not felt. It's like a plastic of some sort. So I'm not 100% sure on the age of these, and I'm not sure of the material. They're not marked. It does show a little bit of a patina, but that could have just been a fake antiquing. Not going to swear to anything about what these are, other than cool looking and a very neat neoclassical shape. You can pick these up for $15 as for the pair, $15 for the pair by giving me number 56. $15, number 56 for the pair of candlestick holders. The next piece was another item that was going to go on to Clue's stage, and this one actually did start to get hung. Hung was probably the last poor choice of words, because the problem was once it went on the wall, they decided it looked like something that it wasn't. So I'm going to let your imagination take over, but if you see this from a 20-foot distance, people felt it looked like something other than a lobster. So it is a copper lobster mold. So the magnet does not stick to it, so it is aluminum with the copper coating on the outside. I think this is less of a jello mold and more for like a lobster salad, some of those weird aspic things that you would have gotten in the 60s. I do not know the age of this. It is not marked in any way, but it definitely has that darker copper patina compared to some of the shiny. I have not tried to polish this. Sorry, Nate. So you're getting it as is. And again, the inside is the raw metal and then just the coating on the outside. So I don't have any history on these. I don't know the specifics of how these are made. I just thought it would look cool and would have been age appropriate for the show. And again, you make your choice of what you think this looks like. We didn't use it, so it comes back and is now available for sale. That's also why I like doing props and set dressing, because sometimes I can pick the things up, use them in a show, and then when they're done, I can sell them. So I don't have to store everything. It's kind of how my business got started, selling off inventory of set dressing things and props. So if you would like an actual lobster mold, that is what this is. If you would like a lobster mold, you can pick this one up for $10. So a great price, $10 for the lobster mold, and you can make your own. You can make your own molds. You can do whatever you want. $10 by giving me number 7. So oftentimes when you're doing set dressing, sometimes there's no purpose in what you're picking up. You're literally just trying to recreate an environment, an era, give people the right vibes. And so one of the things that I had picked up for the Clue set, because it takes place in the 50s. It's supposed to be a house that gets referenced in the lines. It was built in 1784, and it's supposed to be a manor. I found this cool wooden plaque, and I offered it to the set. I'm not doing set dressing. I'm not doing set design. But I just was offering things that I had, and I thought this looked kind of cool. What it is a handmade. It says right on the back. It says handmade. It's dated 1990. Came out of a gift shop. Somewhere in Poland. I'm not even going to try and pronounce all of the things that are on here, but maybe you can make it out. But then in handwritten, it says Art Gallery of Polish Culture, handmade, Varsovia, which I'm assuming is the town, not the artist, 1990. And then oddly, there's a little copyright on the side that says XYZ QBA 90JG. I don't know what that is. But I just thought it kind of looked like a cool plaque. The problem with it ended up being, you can see there's a little hook or a little hole here that you'd be able to hang it on a wall. The way the set is designed for Clue, the walls move. And so you can't just have something like that precariously hanging on a nail. We talked about putting like command strips on the back of it. And then we were afraid of, to be perfectly honest, I was afraid of damaging the wood and restripping the stain that's on the back of it. So we ended up not using it. We could have put it on like a plate stand or something, who knows, but it just didn't work for the show. So offering it here. So it is hangable. I don't want to give you the impression you can't hang it, but most people, when they hang it, unless you live in a tiny home or an RV, your walls don't move. So this is just something you can hang on the wall. It's got the hole and everything, and it will look super cool. It is vintage in the sense that it's made in 1990, but it's got a much older look from that. I don't know the symbolism. It looks like the eagle has, I don't know, stars in the leaf. I don't know if that's just the way that in his wing. I don't know if that's just the way the feathers are looking. Does have a crown. The claws aren't holding anything, so I don't know if this is a specific crest or some specific image. Maybe this is something from Pop Quiz. What does the Polish flag look like? I don't know. So anyway, I just thought it was cool. It's actually very lightweight. Maybe pine, maybe it's lightweight. So this will be under a pound to ship. So I'm making this available for $10 by giving me number 81. $10 for the little armorial carved plaque, handmade. $10 by giving me number 81. And then this other piece I had picked up, I actually had this in my collection and decided to use it on the set of Arsenal Lace. So if you know the show, Mortimer is a theater critic, and it takes place in the late 30s, 40s, like the late 30s. So I had this playbill, which was from 1940. It was from the 1940s. I think it was 45, 41. But from a distance, I felt, no one's going to, 45. Figured from a distance, people aren't going to be able to tell. It just looks like an old style playbill. The problem with it, because again, I mentioned earlier, the set was relatively small. The stage was small. We ended up not having a place to put it. So it was at one point it was on a little table off to the side, and then it was getting in the way of the telephone, so it got taken away. So when I brought it home, I realized, it's kind of cool, but it's not a show that I'm familiar with. It's not, anything special for me from a personal, to keep it in my personal collection. I think I used this when I did a duo dive with Katie from Vintage and Vinyl back in the day. We were doing duo dives, and I think I just had picked this up because it had a different appearance from what a typical playbill is. But it's got all the vintage ads. So this is, if you don't care about playbills, that's fine. You can just get into this. This is, again, it's capturing an era of 1945. What would life be, going to the theater? So you've got advertisements for the Three Feathers. You've got, of course, all the information about the show. You've got a great Chanel ad in the middle. Where Kaiser, PM for Pleasant Memories. It looks like an alcohol. Charles of the Ritz ad. So you've just got some great ads in here. Heinz Mustard, as well as information on the show. Song of Norway, which means nothing to me. Because this is a 1945 playbill, though, it also has a military-based for war bonds. So it's actually kind of a nice capture of Americana from World War II. So you may not collect playbills, but there's stuff in here that makes this interesting across multiple levels. And I do love ephemera, but at some point I have to limit what I'm collecting. And so this is going up for sale, and I'm selling it for $5. So $5 for the playbill, and you get that by giving me number 71. The last section of this sale is going to include all fabric linen items. It just happened because of the era and what I was trying to create in the Arsenic No Lace set. I bought a ton of embroidered tablecloths, table coverings. I had to cover that table that I bought that was technically a card table. We had doilies, we had things all around because we were just recreating this little old lady, turn of the century style home. So I ended up having way more than I actually used. And to be perfectly honest, now that it's been a couple of months since I did that, some of these I can't remember whether they got used on set or not. So, if it matters, sorry, these may not have actually been staged props, but, it was a small theater, so it doesn't really matter. So some of the pieces, this one, I think this is technically a seat topper, just because of the heaviness of the material. More so than a doily. I mean, it could be a really large coaster, and you know how I like my coasters. This one was difficult for me to figure out if it was actually handmade. I think it is machine made. It's too clean, in my opinion, to have been done by hand, or it could have just been someone who's very, very skilled. However, what throws me is you can see that the frame that they put it into, not even a frame, but kind of like the way to make it sturdy, they kind of use this burlap edging. That is definitely hand stitched. So what I'm wondering is, was this maybe a piece of upholstery from a bigger piece and somebody cut it out and then put this edging on it? So I don't know the era on this. I don't know who made it. I'm not even sure 100% what it was for. I just thought it looked really cool. I thought it had a really nice vintage appeal to it. Just kind of a very sweet scene. And this one, I do know we did not end up using it. But I'd actually considered putting this up as a wall hanging as well, because again, it's fairly, like I said, not a frame. I don't even think it's framed. It's foldable, but because of what they did with that on a wall, it would keep it very flat. So you could hang this as a wall decoration. So this little bird needlepoint, I guess, would be considered. I don't think that's considered crewel work, so I think it's just needlepoint. That would be $10. $10 for the bird needlepoint circle by giving me number 41. $10.41 for the bird circle. I don't get into costuming that often. That's a part of estate sales, Goodwills, things like that I don't tend to spend a lot of time in. Every once in a while I'll stumble across something. And I did pick this up initially for use in Arsenic No Lace. We ended up not going this way. It was trying to figure out, this was an old apron. And it just didn't fit the color scheme as the costumer finished the rest of the costumes. And because there's 2 ants, we only had 1 of these. So this, again, did not get used. I always try and show what it will look like. So tilt this down. Okay, that was more of a disturbing shot than I considered. But it's actually fairly long. And you can see there's kind of a little split down here at the bottom. So it's definitely a hostess apron because it's sheer. You can see my shirt pattern coming through it. So it's not a true cooking apron. It has a beautiful purple ribbon on it. The edge has started showing a little bit of fraying, so that could probably be cleaned up a little bit on the side here too. This is something that may have been made by hand, but with a machine. So it wasn't hand stitched, but I just think with the way some of the seams are done, they did it with a sewing machine, but it wasn't a professional job. So just kind of a sweet little piece, and making this available for $5. So $5 for the little sheer purple apron, $5 by giving me number 70. So that gets you the apron, which again, I know that was not used on stage, but that's what it was bought for. The next piece that also did not get used on stage, because I have a feeling period-wise it did not, period-wise I felt was a little bit of a later design, but I picked it up with a couple of other doilies and I really wanted to use it. And then we almost tried to use it in Clue as well, because Clue takes place about 15, 20 years later. You know, is this getting us closer? We just couldn't use it, but I'm hoping the video will do it justice. So it's a large doily, you know, no problem. But if you get a peek, I'll try and give you a profile of it. It has these little 3-dimensional swans crocheted onto it. How amazing is that? I'd never even heard of this before. I got this from an estate sale, again, where I got several of the doilies, and there was a very large swan porcelain figurine that was in the middle of it. And they were appalled that I didn't want the figurine too. Well, the figurine was broken. If it hadn't been broken, I might have bought it just to keep the aesthetic alive. But it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these swans all around the doily. And the doily is in perfect condition. None of the cords have been broken. It is kind of a heavy crochet. Like it's a heavier, it's not like some of the ones I'll show you are super, super thin. I think this is probably from the 70s and 80s, maybe 90s, but I'm thinking that these swans, I'm thinking these are like 70s, but I could be wrong. Anyway, I think this is just amazing. We couldn't use it on stage. I was very disappointed we couldn't use it on stage, but you can have it on your own stage for $20. So $20 for the 3-dimensional swan doily by giving me number 66. 3-dimensional swans. Oops, I smashed his head. 3-dimensional swans. Yes, you need him in your life. Number 66 for $20. Some of these did get used. I have 3 pairs of doilies that I'm going to show you, and they're all $5 each, or $5 per pair. So I'm just going to show them relatively quick. This is a much lighter weight piece. I have a hard time telling when things are done by hand or by machine when it's lace, but because of that middle section, I'm thinking this is machine. Could be wrong. The little rosettes that are on here are kind of dimensional off the surface of the doily. I have 2 of those. I have 2 of this style doily, which kind of has like, there's some design kind of in the middle of it and the little floral in the center, and then a very nice scalloped edge with kind of a floral motif going all the way around the edges. I've got 2 of these. These are kind of a beigey color. Now, I do not know if these started life lighter and they got darker, or if these are typically actually a different color, because I will show in comparison, the exact same design is also available here, which is still white. So these I think are more of an ecru. This is basically the same design, still that same floral. It's got the pieces in the center. It's got the little scalloped edge with the floral motif. So I think pretty much these are identical, but this pair is more white and this pair is a little bit more of a cream. So selling them as pairs. So if you want the cream color pair, that is $5 for number 69. If you want the whiter pair, which is, it's, as I hold up the card, you'll see how white it is compared to the other white. It's still kind of a soft white. $5, that's 12. So you can see, still white, but not as white as the card. So that's $5, and that's 12. And if you want the lighter weight with the little spiral in the center, that pair is also $5, and you get it by giving me number 49. So those are the 3 pairs of doilies. And then we had a couple larger pieces because we had a big buffet, we had a sofa table, we had the coffee or the dining room table. We had several pieces. This one ended up not getting used. This at one point was going to be the dresser scarf for the sideboard, but it ended up being a little brighter than the rest of the set as it got finished. It was a little too springtime, and the story's a little more gothic, so we didn't really go this route. But it's a sweet piece. I think the cloth might have been finished, machine finished. Like, I think you could purchase this, but the needlework on it is definitely hand done. They're carrying knots. It's kind of sloppy. No offense to the person who did it, but it's how you can tell whether it's a machine done or done by hand. It is got a very sweet design to it. It is symmetrical, and it's going all the way along. So you could have this drop over the edge of a table, you drop over the edge of the dresser, or across the top of the dresser, or use it in the center of a dining room table as kind of a little springtime, summertime table runner. So you've got this sweet little piece. It is 27.5 by 14.5, and it's $10. So $10 for the little needlework table runner, dresser scarf, $10 by giving me number 89. And then the last linen is definitely was show used. It is one of the table toppers we used on the dining room table. It is pure white. It has the cut work design going all the way around the outside. You've got the handkerchief, the cut in the hem, running the small cuts here. And then you have in the center square has more cut work with different designs, different patterns. And then the center itself is completely solid. So if you put a centerpiece bowl on there or anything in the middle, you're not covering up any of the design. So this looked great on the table. It's completely symmetrical, it's completely square. It is a 44-inch square. And what we did was we had 2 tablecloths on the table. One was a little bit longer. It was kind of a square table with rounded corners. So it wasn't a circle, but it wasn't quite a full square. We put a standard square tablecloth onto that, and then this covered it up. And we hung this on point so that the corners hung down the flat edges of the square. It looked fantastic. We got several compliments on the set design, including all of the different, we had multiples of these, all of these different table toppers, because it just added to the style. And it also gave something for the aunts to do, like they would lift this off from tea and then put a different one down for dinner, leaving the table itself covered, because again, the table wasn't a dining room table, it was like more of a card table. So, stage magic. So this is a beautiful piece. I did consider using this for myself, but I have a rectangular table, and so this, every time I tried to put it on, it just didn't look right. So if you got a small card table, a small side table, anything you want, beautiful piece, beautiful condition, and it's only $15. So $15 for this cut work 44-inch square tablecloth by giving me number 93. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed this little trip down my memory lane of some of the things I've done for theater and some of the pieces that I had picked up for props and set dressing. And as you finish this video, it hopefully will be coming close to the half-hour mark, in which case you can go pick up Dolores at Miss Dam Jewelry on her channel. And again, the links will be in my description. So again, thank you so much for joining this video for Carolina Princess Sweet Treats and Pretty Shop Hop. I hope you enjoyed it and appreciate you giving me your time and putting your trust in Trusty Huckster. I'll talk to you again soon. I promise. Bye.
Well, show me a sign if you're wishing me to stay. Otherwise, I say goodbye, finish out the day. And that sunrise in the morning and you got nothing to say. Oh, that's when I'll be headed on my way.